I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing fine. Nothing bad.
Good. So how have you been?
I've been good and no major challenge. No challenge.
Mm. And did Italy leave yet?
No.
Not yet.
No.
Good. So I'm just printing out the agenda. I didn't get a report, correct?
Yes, because I wonder if I told you the laptop we're using crashed and it's still the repairer.
So your laptop crashed?
Yeah, but there was an evening we put it on charge. We only discovered it went off and it was smelling like smoke, and that was just it. We've been trying to get it going and I've been struggling with it for about a week now. Even our session on Saturday did not have a laptop, so we had a lot of challenges.
Okay. All right. Let me just get my thing here printed out. So, why don't we start with the good? Let's start with some surprises anyway, and then we could talk about the challenges at hand. Did you have any surprises last Saturday?
Well, I really did not have any surprises. Nothing really surprised me.
Did you do a handwritten debrief or anything about the session, even though you couldn't type it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what I often take at the meetings. I'll stop here.
So then you did handwrite some information?
Mm-hmm.
Can you take pictures of it with your phone and send it to me?
Okay, I'm going to do that now.
Okay, you can do that after too if you want. If that's the way we have to recap this last session, then that's the way your report comes in. By handwritten note, you take a photo of it and you send it to me. Okay? And you don't have to worry about, typing it up at a later date or anything like that. Capture it in written form, send it to me, and that's good enough for me. Okay? As long as we have it captured, that's all that matters. Okay. All right. So you didn't have any surprises. Was there anything you liked about the session?
Yeah, I like the fact that though it was a very rainy day, no light and that, we still had some people come. We still had about 6 people come, and that was good enough because we need to struggle to get to the site.
Yeah. Do we have an attendance sheet and a transportation sheet?
Yes. I'm going to forward that to you as well finished talking.
Okay. So do you remember who showed up?
Yes, Cynthia was there, Florence was there, Brendalyn was there, Faith was there, Precious was there, and Jacqueline was there.
And where was Barbara?
I don't know why she didn't make it. She's one of the people who didn't tell me why they didn't come.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm leaving it. I didn't call her to find out why she didn't come, so I'm just going to inform her when the next session.
Okay.
When the next session, I don't want to kind of rush a lot behind people.
Okay.
Then Adela called the same day. She was taking care of her father in the hospital. Then Mirabel also called during the meeting. She traveled to Yaoundé. Then Mabel also traveled to Yaoundé. Then the 2 people who did not really give me why didn't come, who were there in the previous session were Brenda and Barbara.
Yeah. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There was someone else you mentioned. You said Adela, Barbara, then there was someone, and then Mabel and Brenda. Who did I miss?
No, those are the people. Mirabelle.
Maribel. Okay. I knew I missed someone. Okay. All right. What didn't you like?
Well, I really did not like the where we're sitting, the cold and so on. The weather just made the whole thing so cold. I was also feeling cold because I did not predict. I didn't know the weather was going to be like that. I left the house and just made it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of sitting. It was blowing in. We had to spend some time in the church. We went through the lessons in the church, and after a while, the choir said they wanted to start their practice. We moved out again, and all of that was disturbing.
Yeah. It's hard to stay focused when you have to move around from room to room.
Mm-hmm. And it's like we're in the heart of the rainy season.
And how long does that last?
It's going to go up to the first quarter of October.
Oh gosh, through October.
I think this is June, July, August, September. It's going to be hell. We're just beginning.
And it's like
the storm.
It's like this, and it's like this nonstop for 6 months almost. Like 5.
Not really, because we haven't little sun today for about a week now. We're having first sun of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can just try a few things. So whatever the case, activities still go on, not really as during the dry season.
Okay. So the room that you're in is sheltered, but it's not. You still get wind and rain in there.
Yeah, it's an extension of church, which is safe when it's not raining.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's raining, it kind of blows in. When it's raining with some wind.
Okay, so is there another place at the church that's more secure that you could maybe access?
The church, the building is rented. It's not really a church building, so they don't have rooms and other parts inside.
Mm.
The veranda outside that we're using. So there is, I don't think there's something we can do about that. But for an earlier adjustment, but I don't think they have not been able to make it earlier than 11 o'clock. So I won't.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it. What would you like to see more of, or less of?
I want some consistency in the attendance, because I was speaking to Rani. I spoke of an average of about 7 or 8. I want that. Also, I told her about 7 people have never absented.
Mm-hmm.
So I want that number to stay on while we can flow around 10 and days, just to prepare us for the EQI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want a consistent number.
Well, it's beyond your control. And, you just have to trust and put faith that in God that, the people who need to be there will be there. Consistency is always an issue. I think you've actually been doing pretty well, to be honest with you, with the numbers. You've had minimum of like 6 to 7, like 8 people, as high as 11. And this last time there were exceptions, and you can certainly understand why several people didn't come because of the weather or people in the hospital or all of that. So, life gets in the way, as well as, the weather. The weather is part of life, and it gets in the way. So, you just have to deal with it and get through it as best as you can. And, so better weather. And that's it. I mean, I would say that it was success considering all of those adversities that you handled, on that day. In regards to the agenda, why don't you? I'm just going to go through this, and you tell me, what transpired and if you got to it or not, depending on, because of the weather and all of those challenges that you faced. Did you do your opening prayer and your?
Yeah, we did the opening prayer.
Okay. And I'm assuming I'm going to get handwritten notes on all of this, so I don't have to have great detail on it. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the notes, I just scribbled, so you have to just consider it.
That's fine. That's fine. Please don't worry.
Yeah, it's just scribbled jotting for reporting sake, so that I won't have to forget things.
Yeah. Did you discuss the new monthly schedule with them?
Yes, I did.
Was it okay? Were they agreeable?
It was okay, though they were not comfortable missing him, but we told them it was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So then we did not give them. We want him to go first so that he will give us a date that will be convenient.
Mm-hmm.
The last or first Saturday of the month. So I told them that we're going to give them the next date. I'm going to call them to inform them.
Okay. I'd like to coordinate the sustainability fees along with that date. Because they're up. They're due, say like the 23rd-ish, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of, from the time that we started last May. So last May, when we paid, it was for the month of June. So the next time we pay, it'll be for, obviously, the month of July. And if you're meeting like on the 3rd, I don't want to, so we're always going to be paying like on the 3rd week. So I think that'll work okay, because if you meet on the last or the 1st, at least you'll have the monies prior to your meetings. Okay, so I got to coordinate that schedule this week, and I will. And I think I'm just going to put it for like the 21st or something like that of every month. Okay?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. And of course, you welcomed the cohort. Was there any kind of share back? I know you said that you talked about your husband's opportunity and why he'll be gone, why we had to go to a monthly schedule, and what else did you guys do on the share back portion?
We just had a share back. We had each and everyone say how their week was. Then we started with the share backs before going to announcement of Itali's departure.
Mm-hmm.
Then we said something on positive affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
We asked if they had some offhand affirmations from what Rani gave them.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some from them. Then we also asked them to give orders from themselves. Then we went to the belief system Then we did the 360-degree feedback.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So did you do a warm up?
Yes, we did a warm up inside the church. It's a really short warm up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how did the 360 feedback go?
It was beautiful. Though we're only getting the positive. Faith spoke about Jacqueline. Then Precious spoke about Brenda Lynn. Then Florence spoke about Cynthia.
And it went well, would you say?
Yeah, it was good. Then I also noticed that they kind of know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And say a thing about each other, and they accepted that what was said was true.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone learn anything new about themselves?
Yes. Cynthia, Florence said, Cynthia is always talking, correcting, and she likes crying, and she's not comfortable with her. She later on said Florence, Cynthia cries a lot in almost all the meetings. So that was something that Cynthia thought nobody noticed. And so she kind of laughed and said she will not cry again.
Well, it might be her only opportunity to really be vulnerable and let herself go. Everywhere else that she is, except in those cohort meetings, she has to be strong, and she has to, take matters into her own hands, and she has to constantly, carry on with this, persona of strength or whatever. And yet when she comes into the cohort meetings, she probably almost takes a breath and breathes and just kind of comes in and just relaxes. And it's probably then that she allows any of her emotions of the week or the several weeks to come, flush over her. And that might be why she's crying, because she has no other opportunity to really express herself emotionally or anything. So the crying, the always talking, might be also a coping mechanism, or it could be that she never has a voice anywhere else except in these meetings, and so again she's feeling very safe, very comfortable in this environment. So she's actually using her voice and she's talking, and she's also expressing herself, crying. Of course, you always want that to be in some kind of balance. You don't want it to go from extreme, you don't want extremes. But her crying, to me, is more of a good thing, it could be, than a bad thing or a negative thing, unless, of course, it's disruptive, in your meetings. So I think Cynthia, she's just in a bad spot, and I think when she comes to your meetings, she feels safe, and she feels as though she's coming home to a family, and that she can just, be herself and let everyone know how she's feeling, I mean, that's my guess, because without...
I'm thinking you are right, because she doesn't do this anywhere. Mm-hmm. She does not disrupt. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we came to know that she's emotional, and she feels free around us. She speaks. She's so committed, and that's who she is. Mm-hmm. So her crying is really positive, but it pokes Florence. She sympathizes. She sympathizes with her. Mm-hmm. So that's why she says she's not comfortable with Cynthia's crying.
So Florence is 15, and how old is Cynthia?
Cynthia is 20-something, I think.
20 plus, yeah. And Florence is 15, and she's uncomfortable seeing Cynthia, someone who's older, an adult really, crying. And so you have to wonder why. And Florence is probably, I don't know anything about Florence. What did anyone say anything about Florence?
No, I asked her because she's always so quiet, just observing. Then I asked if she's ever been exposed to a group of up to 3. She said that was her first exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also an issue. She's never been to a group like that. She's never interacted like that. So she's really still observing. She's new to the city, and those are issues. Still getting to understand the group and understand people, understand city life and all of that.
And what did Faith say about Jacqueline?
Faith said Jacqueline, let me look at it. Jacqueline is a caring person, that they lived somewhere together in the same compound, and Jacqueline used to caution her a lot.
Mm-hmm. How old is Jacqueline?
Jacqueline is about, she should be above 28, I think. I don't have the age of
She does not have any children yet, right?
Yeah, none.
And yet she has these mothering instincts with people like Faith at her age, telling her to be cautious and everything like that. So she sounds like maybe a natural caregiver. And, did anyone say anything
let me get to hear from what my husband took down. This is Faith and Jackie. Faith said she's caring. That's from his own paper, not mine. She has the fear of God. She's kind, motherly. She's obedient.
And so then did you just talk about those 3 ladies, Jacqueline, Brenda Lynn, Cynthia, and that's it?
Yeah, Precious spoke about Brenda Lynn.
And what did she say about her?
Well, she says she's too emotional. She always has something to say, but short words. She's not she cannot express herself well. She's afraid of. She's afraid and reserved.
Now, when go ahead.
Then Precious spoke about her. Then Cynthia too spoke about her. Cynthia said she's caring, she's concerned, then she's obedient, and she minds her words. But Precious said she lacks words. Cynthia says she minds her words. She minds what to say, but Precious says she lacks words of expression. So they're looking at her differently.
Well, it's almost like they're saying the same thing. It's just being interpreted differently. It sounds like Brenda Lynn thinks about what she is saying. So she's not one to talk a lot, yet when she does talk, she says something concisely. She speaks in concisely. So Precious said that she's short on words, and then who was the other one who said she minds her words? That was Jacqueline, right?
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Cynthia said Brenda Lynn minds her word. Precious said she's short of words. And
So Precious says she's short of words, she's reserved, seems afraid, and Cynthia takes that as she minds her words, meaning she thinks about it, and she's very cautious, really, in what she says. So they're basically saying the same thing, except one is coming out in a more of a negative really way, and like Precious is saying, and Precious is young too, right? Isn't she like 15, right?
Yeah, she's young.
Yeah, so Precious has less of a filter as someone like Cynthia, who's a little bit older. And Cynthia has been exposed to people more so than Precious has been because of their age difference. So, so again, it's almost like I feel as though they're saying the same thing. One is saying it with, it's almost like Brenda Lynn has a filter when she speaks. She has a filter. Some people don't have filters and they just, say whatever comes to their mind. Brenda Lynn seems to have a filter, and she thinks before she speaks, right?
Yeah.
Before she speaks.
Okay. Then Brenda Lynn spoke about Cynthia. She says Cynthia is caring, Cynthia is respectful, God-fearingness. Cynthia is stubborn, Cynthia is talkative.
And it just sounds like her though too, because of everything that you've said about her. So I'm just wondering what Brenda Lynn said when she heard all of this. What was her reaction?
No, this is Brenda Lynn speaking about Cynthia.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying after Precious and Cynthia said what they said about her, Brenda Lynn, what did Brenda Lynn think? What was her reaction?
No, she did not object. She was just quiet. She was just smiling.
Okay. And what was Jacqueline's reaction when she heard this stuff about herself?
None of them really objected. They were laughing, kind of admitting. Yeah.
So they were like listening and kind of internalizing it, I would say then.
Yeah, sure, that's the perfect word.
Interesting. Now, have you and your husband done this, the 360?
No. But while in the meeting, I also, when Brenda Lynn said Cynthia was stubborn, I didn't want her to feel negative. So I just came in and said, my husband also tells me that I'm stubborn. So it's not all about, it's not negativity when they say you're stubborn. So she shouldn't look at it somehow. So that's why I came in. So we've not yet done it.
Well, you guys should do it. It's an interesting exercise, and it's interesting to do that between couples. So you should do that at some point. Stubbornness it's almost like vulnerability. It can be a negative or it can be a positive, and stubbornness can be a negative or a positive. For example, when my husband had his heart attack, he was just so stubborn. He was just too stubborn to die. He wasn't going to give up. So because he's naturally stubborn, it helped him. It worked to his advantage. However, he can be stubborn in that, if someone upsets him or says something to him and he gets mad, or, he'll be stubborn and not talk to them for days on end, which, isn't a good thing. So you have to almost debrief the value of stubborn, and think about it. What are the good things of being stubborn? What are the negative things about being stubborn? So it isn't always a bad thing. It just depends on how it's being used, in what situation, whether it's being used in a negative manner or a positive way. So interesting. But you and your husband should do that exercise at some point. You'll probably learn something about yourselves. I know he's already done it to you, and said a few things to you. So it's apropos that you would do it also for him. And remember, you always do it in the affirmative. To say, well, you're stubborn. Well, do you mean that in a good way or a bad way, or you know what I mean?
Well, he says that with a smile. smile on him, and
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to take it in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's very persistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then, did you guys end up? Did you have time? Did you do this trust circle? Start the trust circle at all?
Yes, we did. When we explained the trust cycle and said something, I actually heard what you said. Jacqueline was just so. I don't trust anybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Without really understanding, I was like, let's get where she said she doesn't trust anybody, and that was not strange to me because you had told me that we could have answers like that.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, she sat down and began to think of those she can trust. So they started it, and the exercise could not go through, so they're going to bring it in the next session.
Okay, good. Okay. So you just basically introduced it, which is really all I asked you to do. You entertained some questions if they needed clarification on how to proceed with it. And they're going to bring it in session 6. Okay. Let me just write that in. Bringing to session 6. Now, if other people come to session 6 who didn't come to session 5, you might want to have them assign them this home play when you speak to them. You're gonna have to reach out to those who didn't come and assign them this home play and review it with them, so that when they come to session 6, you're all on the same page and we can proceed through the agenda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to bring those people who didn't come, who are planning to come to the next session, up to speed on their trust circle.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna just write a note here. Those. For number 6. Okay. All right. So then the next part was the self-defense part. And did you end up doing any of that?
We didn't do it because it was raining out. Then our laptop was not with us.
Okay.
But I needed to show them the PK and chart and so on, and we do that.
Okay. So that's going to carry forward into session 6. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you do any of the community challenge?
Yes, we still spoke about the library. We went to ownership, imagination, and we took ownership. They took ownership of the challenge, so we tried to speak on that.
And you explain.
On my paper, I got something like, yes, we are motivated. It will serve the society, the community. It will generate income, and that's just what I captured.
Okay. Now, did you do the reviewing of the data?
No.
Okay. So then, you didn't generate any. Let me see. You didn't review data, you didn't generate data, and so then you didn't clarify the challenge with the how might statements?
No, we did part of that.
Okay.
We did that, and we told them we gave it as home play, because we told them that in the next session we are going to get it. It's important to also, they should go and generate the ideas and so on, the data.
No, they can't generate ideas yet.
Okay.
I mean, if they did, they're just going to sit on them for a little bit. I mean, I need to, well, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I need to see how these statements came out. Okay.
Okay.
Because what you have to do
We just not like they should frame it the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
We need to frame it. We just ask them like an assignment. Why do you think it is going to be important? How do we raise like it's on the chart? Think of ideas that we can bring this to existence. That's all we say.
Okay, so then what statement are they generating ideas on? What statement did you guys all select to work on?
We're not really doing it. Pardon?
Did you select a
How might we view... Pardon, ma'am?
Go ahead. How might we build...
Yeah, how might we view a library? What are the ideas? That's
Okay.
just all we told them, that they should pick those ideas, put them together, so that when we come in the next session, they already have those ideas.
Okay, that's fine. You know, you've given them, but I'm going to probably have you I haven't introduced stage 2, which is how to generate ideas, which is ideating. And there's some rules, so to speak, to follow in regards to that. So it's okay that they brought in ideas. That's great. But you'll give them a little bit of background, so to speak, in regards to generating ideas, that they are diverging, and, you know, there's just some simple principles behind it. Whereas you never really judge an idea. Someone might say, and by judging, someone might have a great idea, but the group doesn't say, oh, that's a great idea. You don't even judge that. Or someone may have an idea that someone else doesn't like and say, no, that'll never work. So you don't pass any judgment, good or bad, on any ideas. You just literally gather the ideas and write them down. You converge, which is judging the ideas after all of the ideas are presented. Okay? So I'm just going to I'm going to walk you through that process so that you can then walk them through the process, and that they are bringing ideas, and they always have to be actionable with ideas, you know, and they shouldn't be paragraphs. They shouldn't be like, oh, well, we can do this and this and this and this. You know, you have to say, like, they might say, how might we build a library? You know, one idea might be fundraise. Another might be, you know, get donations. Another might be, you know, government support. Get the community involved. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we didn't know we were going really ahead of time. That's exactly what we did.
Okay.
They spoke of us meeting community leaders for land and so on and so forth, involving the community, talking to church and fundraising and so on. Those were the ideas we got, but we didn't know we're getting. So we're going to work on that again properly.
Okay, so that'll be session 6 will be about ideating, and I'll bring you forward on that with just some, like I said, some background so that you understand what that phase or stage, I should say, is all about. Okay, and then so for the home play, you gave them to continue with the trust circle, and you also told them to bring in ideas.
We actually did something on that, but it was not done the way it had to be done. They put in names, so we told them in the next one they should just put dots around the circle, then they kind of will draw it like an onion something, and to discover that some people are falling out of place naturally. Okay. So we'll repeat that in the next session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. And then
I'm seeing another thing here. How might we involve like what we're doing about the community? This is what we got. Launch the library, inform the community. How might we involve the community? Then we say announce the church, radio stations, and so on. Educated and learning people. talk to early community leaders. Those are some of the things we had.
Yeah, that's marketing. How do you marketing? And those are ideas where it's, how do we build a library through marketing, calling radio stations, create awareness, create a PR plan. All of these are ideas. So after session 6, what I need to see is I'm going to need to see all of those ideas, okay? And I need you to just sit after all those ideas are generated. I need you to just stop there, okay? Because the next phase, I want to walk you through it. And that's called hits and clustering, okay? So, I have to see the ideas to make sure that they're generated correctly. So they can't be written in problem statements. They can't be written like a statement. They have to be action verbs. Just a few words per idea. Okay, they're not paragraphs. So after you generate all of the ideas, you gather them up, write them down, however you want to gather them, and then you need to take a picture of them for me and send it to me. But I need you to stop at that point. Do not go any further. Okay?
It's okay.
Okay. And then you and I will come together and we're going to walk through all of those. And we're going to actually, and I'll use those and walk you through with how to hit them and then cluster them and then restate them with just you. And then, of course, you're then going to bring it to the group because you got to have consensus and buy-in. So you're going to then have them do the same thing that I'm going to have you do. Okay? So, all right. So then, did you assign the home play of Chase Your Happy or no?
No, we didn't get to that.
Okay.
But we asked them to. Oh, indeed, we asked them to define what is happiness to them. That we're going to work on that in the next session.
Okay. All right. So that'll be session 6. We'll bring that forward. Section 6 and 6. Yeah, so your next session is going to be pretty full because you're going to have the trust circle and everyone presents their own trust circle, which will take some time, and you just sit in that. And then after someone presents the trust circle, you take some observations or some feedback from the group. You bring the group into them. So if I say, my values are this, this, and that, and this is who I am, you then, as the facilitator, you will then respond to that in an affirmative way, and then you will open it up to the group to see if they have anything to add or anything to say about that, okay? And you're going to do that for every single person. So that may take a while. If you have 11 people there, that might be your whole session, okay? In which case, everything else will just wait until the next session, all right? Because the trust circle is really, really important. You don't want to rush through it. You want everyone to have their time and to be able to stand up and say who they are and what their belief is. It's extremely important. And let's say you only got through 6 of them or half of them. You're going to come back the next session. You're going to start with the ones that did not get through it. This might take a little bit of time. It might take your full 2 hours, and that's okay. We'll just carry everything else forward to session 7, okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So do we have a next session date or no? Not yet.
Well, I'll be giving a date maybe in by the end of this month.
Okay. So we're still at...
I'm going to get that to you.
Okay. Did they have any surprise? Did you do a debrief with the group?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what were their surprises?
Cynthia said she was surprised that Florence could talk about her like that, talk about her being emotional.
Now, you need to reach out to Cynthia at some point, and you need to tell her that after reflection about what Florence said, you need to tell her that these are my thoughts and or your thoughts in regards to why she is so talkative at some points and crying, and tell her that it is okay within a balance, because she needs to feel as though she can continue to be herself and be able to share in her way. We don't want to close her down, okay? So you definitely need to reach out to her and explain that to her. Any other surprises?
Somebody spoke about my husband's going the new job. You're going too far. Nothing more. Yeah, what did you like? They said they like the share backs.
Yeah, they kind of get to know a little bit about each other. They find out that they're all in the same pot, so to speak.
Yes. Actually mentioned that. Somebody mentioned that Cynthia said, that was Cynthia, she said she likes the share backs because when they share back, they get to know that they are not in some kind of ordeals alone.
Yeah, the sharebacks seem so flippant, really. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, a shareback, what a waste of time, or whatever. The sharebacks, that's why I say sometimes you'll sit in a shareback for the whole session. It just depends on what's going on. The sharebacks are extremely, extremely important for, the group and the environment and the group dynamics. The sharebacks will either help, or they'll either break or make, your session that day, and whether to change out the agenda. But they'll also make or break, whether I think anyway, whether the dynamics of the cohort. You're going to be able to see whether there's any animosity within the cohort members, whether they're all on the same page, whether they're not. I mean, I've dealt with cohort members who really couldn't stand each other, and it was, so sharebacks are very important, but they lend themselves to having the members trust each other and not feeling as though they're alone in their adversity, and that's just so important. Any other likes?
Not really. We just ended there.
Okay. So, I imagine it was a pretty stressful session for you.
It was. It was.
So what did you go ahead?
A lot of things I was depending on. So, before that day, I was thinking I'm just going to get the things out of the laptop, or I'm going to print them like tomorrow, just for me to know that there was no way. So I had to use my phone, open my Gmail, my phone, send it into this thing, open the Gmail, they connect to another machine to print out. So it was quite stressful. We needed to be smart to get them on paper.
It's amazing how much you rely on technology to help you streamline the agenda. And it's amazing how much you rely on those to provide the resources and the added material for the session. This right here tells you whether you know your stuff or not. So you're a new facilitator in this realm, in this arena, right? With this impact study. You've facilitated before, I know. But I'm saying in this you're facilitating this material is new for you. So, there whatever you can use to help you streamline it and move it along, great. However, when it starts to become a crutch, and it's no longer there, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, where's my material, whatever. That's when you know that you've got to do a little bit more of your you've got to do a little bit more research or homework, so to speak, in regards to what you're going to be teaching. And this was a great opportunity for you to say, you know what, I've got to be better prepared, because from now on, when you go to a session, you assume there's no electricity. You assume it's going to be cold. You assume it's going to be windy. You assume adversity, okay? And when there's if there's not adversity, whoo, great, sigh of relief. But when there is adversity, you know what? You walk into that room and you are ready. You are ready, and you're like, bring it, little G, bring it, because I've got it, right? You know, so this was a wonderful teaching point for you. And I you know what, honestly, I can't even imagine, because, you know, I've always had although I have to say, there have been times when I have presented and all of a sudden my stuff that was on my laptop or my presentation, it wasn't available. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to just go from my brain or whatever. But you know what I do a lot of times? I bring my books or something, right? Just in case something doesn't work well. So at least I have my books to refer to, or my notes or something like that. So what I would do is, you know, write yourself some notes that are going to refresh your memory on certain things. Or, you know, when I gave you all that resource material on all the methodologies, you know, if you have printed it out, just bring it with you in the future. And you know what, if you've got to refer to it, then you refer to it. You just tell the group, listen, you know what, nothing's working today, so I'm going by the seat of my pants today, along with my notes, and we're just going to see how it goes, you know? And you just be honest, you know? So, yeah, I imagine how stressful for all of that. But in regards to the elements and being chill, you might be cold or whatever, take some time out, do some exercises, do some jumping jacks, you know, walk in place. I don't know, try to incorporate it somehow, you know, in your session. And how did you react? I mean, you were stressed out, you were uncomfortable, you were cold, right? And you know, and yet you still managed through. Why did you manage through? What was it that kept you going?
I don't know. I'm somebody who always wants to take it to the end. I'm always committed to what I'm doing. I hate failing. I hate disappointing. Those are relying on looking up to me. I could not just call them and give them nothing. Mm-hmm. That's all that me. I wouldn't do that. So I had to go the extra mile. Mm-hmm. Friday, when I noticed that everything is down and I could not just rest, I was thinking hard, how do we get this? Until my husband came with a suggestion that I can go back to my Gmail in my phone. We download it into another machine, then we open it in a cyber and print it out. Mm-hmm. So I had a sigh of relief. When we got there, I said I could not just feel. Even when I did not see everybody, I was not discouraged. I just told them, so person did not come for this reason, this person did not come for this reason, and I don't know why this other people did not come, so we just have to go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When we were going towards the end, I started feeling too cold, and I was like, we could just keep every other thing to the next session. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Did you? But then we had touched almost everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you did well in the midst of all of that. Next time though, you will assume adversity as opposed to, oh, everything's going to be great. No. Even though you knew and yet you knew everything wasn't going to be great, but you still walked in there, which was great, which was, kudos to you, but yet you were still stressed with it. And you know what? It might have been because, this is the first time that you got a cohort that's depending on you. You got me saying, "Oh, here's the agenda," and all of that.
And there I was without the taxi fare. I went to. I did not collect on Friday. I knew I was going to leave very early and pick it up on Saturday morning. When I got to the pay station, they said, my identity card photocopy was not clear. They were not going to pay me because they cannot see my ID card number. So when I went out to photocopy, I realized that there was no line to get another photocopy to pick up the money. So I had to rush to the place, thinking that I could get there and beat light and pick from another space station. There was just no way. So the people not coming was kind of God making it, because I finally took Italy's money, which was just about the number that was there, and paid them and told them I was going to reimburse him.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of headache.
Mm-hmm.
Everything seemed not to work, not even the money, and I've never collected it up to now.
And actually everything did work, because the number of people that came was the amount of money that your husband had left in his bank account, and you managed to get the money, and you managed to reimburse the 6 people who came, and of course the monies are already there for you to reimburse your husband. So in actuality, it all just worked out. It worked out the way it should have worked out. It was perfect.
That's true. That's right.
Amazing, really. So I think you were stressed out a little too, because this was the first time, and so now you're going to expect it. So next time it's going to, it might still be stressful, Seraphine, but you know what? You'll be like, all right, well, I know what I'm going to do. I know what it feels like, so to speak. I know what to expect.
I wouldn't want to get my materials just a few days to the meeting. I'll prepare way ahead of time, get them ready, keep them somewhere. If there's get the money ready, keep it somewhere. If there's no light, they're not paying, I'll not have any problem.
Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you're prepared with everything. I've said to you before, like 2 weeks in advance, and you said 1 week is enough. But I don't think so, because if you get the agenda a week ahead of time, that gives you just that week to like prepare your materials. So I really think that you need everything 2 weeks in advance, which gives you plenty of time.
Yeah, that's right. So I wouldn't have to rush to print and this and that.
And the next session, again, it is pretty much the same of what was. The only thing that's new is going to be, ideating and walking you through that. Everything else is going to carry forward. So it shouldn't be too bad. This week, between this week and next week, I'm going to be charting the cohort members and trying to get a feel for where they are on the EQI. And so I'm gonna start. Once I do that, I want to have some conversations with you about that, and I'm gonna videotape it like I always do, and I think I'd like to do some separate. I don't know if I should do one long video or some separate videos. And I'd like to do a video for each one of the cohort members in regards to who they are after I receive the trust circle, and after I have some time with it for maybe one of the sessions. And it's not like I expect you to show them all every session, but it might be just one per session, which would be maybe 3 minutes or something like that. Either that, or I'll do it and then you reiterate it to them in some way. I don't know. We'll figure that out at a later date. But let's see. Any other challenges from last Saturday?
Not really. I can't think of any.
Okay. You feel good about the session though, right? Because you should.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was not comfortable when I came back. I was just there, and I was like, there are some things that you cannot avoid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something always goes awry. Nothing's perfect, you know. You just have to do your best and muddle through sometimes.
But I know the next session is going to go. We're going to cover a lot of things which we didn't do.
Okay.
Those who didn't make it will want to make it. If somebody was in the hospital will want to come. Somebody who traveled will be there, and so on.
And remember to try to get a hold of those people so that they know what to bring to the session in regards to their trust circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that leaves, that's the time-consuming part, is having to contact those people and bring them up to speed. But that's what happens when someone doesn't come. And sometimes when they don't come, it won't really make a difference, depending on what they missed. But missing the trust circle is something that they've got to bring themselves up to speed with. So we don't want to just have them come next session and not have their materials with them, So...
Yeah. Going to, I don't know, those who bring guests in, those who not bring it in, we're going to explain to them, give them papers to possibly put theirs together in the session.
Yeah, you'll know by a week or 2 weeks prior to the next session whether you've gotten a hold of anybody and who's left. So you'll tally that up and you'll let me know who you got to and who still needs to do that. So if it's 1 or 2 people, then maybe they can do that in the session, prior, or maybe they can get there a little bit earlier, even if it's just, 15 minutes to the next session. And I mean, that might be the other option, is for those 6 people or whomever didn't show up, can they come about a half an hour earlier? And then you bring them up to speed and have them do that. There's that option as well.
That's better.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take them earlier.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
That would be very nice, yeah.
All right. So I need photos of your notes and your husband's notes. I need the transport fare sheet and the attendance sheet. And then from there, I'll do my recap of it, and I'll capture all your notes within my recap. And then, what is it? It's June, 16th? So we've got about 4 weeks, I think, right, before your next session. Oh, and I got to do the sustainability sheet fee. I'll be sending Faith her money this week at some point, just so you know. So you'll have to make arrangements with her to see her and give it to her, as well as Florence. I know Ronnie is the last time was the 23rd, so she'll probably, that's why I'm thinking about the 21st, 22nd, sometime this week of every month, and that way you can coordinate and let them know, and hopefully it'll fall before your sessions every month, so you can do that all at once as well. That would be great, but we'll see. Not everything works out perfectly, but and when does Barbara graduate from her training?
This June, the end of this June, she'll be graduating.
End of June. Okay, I have a conversation with the bank this week. My girlfriend's also coming in this weekend, and I told her I needed to speak with her in regards to the financing of how to take in money. So we're going to have a conversation about that. So we'll have a better idea in relation to that. And how are you in... we got to get you up and running in regards to the bank over there.
I'm just waiting getting, as soon as we get something that we need to pick up, I'll go there and see if we can set up an account.
Is there any way that with the how many people are on the board of directors
Board of directors?
for Mercy Seed?
There are about 6, but since some are out of here, not everybody's going to be the signatory. We've got 2 signatories to the account.
Is there any way we could ask for $20 from each one for the fee to open the bank account, or no?
Yeah, it's possible. We could do that.
Okay. Well, let me know.
That's a good idea. I didn't think of that because when we were getting the registration, we also had the board members' support, and that really facilitated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really helped. So if we could put that up, it would be beautiful.
Okay. Keep me posted on that. And also, when you open a bank account, are there monthly fees involved?
That's if we have a current account. So I'm going to speak with the bank and see what is involved.
Okay. Because that's really going to, because I can't do anything without your bank over there. I'm not going to transfer monies over to, I can transfer a little bit amount of monies, but not a lot. So, all right, keep me posted on that. And what's going on with Jacqueline and her health? Has she made a decision?
She told me she had pain for 2 days last week. Mm-hmm. That pain for 2 days, and I spoke to her about the hormone therapy, and we're thinking that she should go and see a surgeon that we know, somebody my husband is related to.
Okay.
Then things Rani said, I was also thinking that her 1 month, because she has been saying the homeopathic or what, I don't know how to call it, that it has worked for a lot of people, so we're also considering if she can try for a month.
That's fine. We won't give her monies for that, though. You know that. Mm-hmm. They won't release funds for homeopathic care. So
yeah. So if she wants to try that for a month, that's going to be a business. But the plan we have right now is to meet that surgeon in the general hospital, in the main hospital here in the city of Bamenda.
Okay. Do you have a date of when you're going to meet the doctor?
Yeah, it's my husband's family friend, so we could call and meet him in his office.
Okay.
Then, so that's the plan we had. We had to call today, but he's not gone. We'll not be able to put a date because Jacqueline will not be able to come over today.
Okay. All right.
So
well,
I'll inform you when that is done.
All right. Okay, so keep me posted. So I have on my agenda also for the PR for Florence and for Faith to do, so I will get that done at some point this week. I'm home for 4 weeks, so I have a lot of I have a lot of time, which is nice. I do have family members coming,